He stood on one of the biggest stages in the world.
Truth begins with language, with the power that words hold to shape consciousness.
Spoke for history and spoke for justice.
There's no such thing as a slave. There were human beings who were trafficked and then enslaved by people who believed they could own those human beings as chattels.
And when he returned home, Ghana didn't just stay quiet. In fact, Ghana showed up.
Thank you very much.
After addressing the United Nations, Ghana's President John Dramani Mahama has finally returned home. And what waited for him was not just protocol. In fact, it was emotions, crowd gathered, flags waved, energy filled the air, and this was more than a return. In fact, it was a moment. In this video, we break it down exactly what happened. And all that you gotta do is to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Now, let's jump into that moment.
Guys, if you've enjoyed this video so far, please do me a huge favor and hit the like button and subscribe. These videos take quite a long time to make, so if you could help me out, I'll love you forever. Thank you all for your support. Now let's get back to this crazy story.
African president.
So President John Dramani Mahama has finally returned home after spending weeks in the United Nations meeting with Ghanaians in the diaspora in Philadelphia, getting awards and speaking on one of the biggest world stages, the United Nations, and advocating for slavery to be recognized as the gravest sin of all time, which has been adopted, which has been approved. He finally touched down in Ghana.
His Excellency, President John Dramani Mahama,
But this wasn't just any trip. In fact, at the United Nations, Ghana pushed a bold message recognizing the transatlantic slave trade as the highest level of global discussion, a topic many countries approach carefully, but Ghana chose to speak it clearly. And the resolution passed with strong support globally. But like most global issues, not every country moved the same way. In fact, some supported strongly, some stayed cautious, and some were even absent. And that is what makes Ghana's position stand out. But back home, you could feel it. You could feel the pride, the unity, and the recognition. And for many, this wasn't just about politics. In fact, it was about identity, about history, and about being heard. And in minutes, videos started spreading online with people celebrating, and people started asking questions that, why don't we see this level of unity? And suddenly, it became bigger than just one speech. So as President John Dramani Mahama touched down at the airport, the atmosphere was already charged. At the airport, he was received by top government officials, including the Chief of Staff, Julius Debrah. But he didn't stop there. In fact, traditional authority were present too.
His Excellency, President John Dramani Mahama, the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, African champion, John Dramani Mahama Ondofio.
Shortly after the arrival, President Mahama addressed those gathered, and his message was clear. He showed gratitude. He acknowledged countries that supported Ghana's position in the United Nations, emphasizing unity and shared history.
Nime Name, our traditional rulers, members of the clergy, senior government officials, members of parliament, heads of security services, our millennium supporters, Black Star supporters. And to acknowledge particularly my Vice President for the warm welcome she gave me when I arrived. Let me also acknowledge my Chief of Staff for the warm words he just spoke. But before I read the statement, let me say that this is a victory not only for Ghana, It's a victory for a broad coalition of all Africans, all people of African descent, CARICOM, and indeed all people of good conscience around the world. The issue of Atlantic slave trade has been advocated for many years by many people. It has been acknowledged in part, and in some places apologies given, but it has always been handled in a very fragmented manner. And so the significance of what we did was to put it all together and put it on the highest global platform and put on record that this was the gravest crime against humanity. But before I go to the statement, I want to thank my Foreign Minister, Okujeto Ablakwa. I gave the guidance, but they did the legwork. The thousands of kilometers he traveled from country to country canvassing support for this resolution must be acknowledged. I also want to thank our permanent mission to the UN and our ambassador in the United States, Victor Smith, and all their staff for the legwork that they did preparing before we arrived. They deserve the real honor because they actually did the work. I just provided the guidance. And so I want to thank also all our colleagues in CARICOM and all the others all over the world, the 123 countries that voted for this resolution. Many of them not affected by the slave trade or involved in it in any way, but having good conscience to acknowledge that on scale, nothing surpasses the inhumanity of what happened for 400 years against black people in this world. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you warmly for this reception. I'm deeply honored by your presence and your continued support. This moment belongs to all the people of Ghana. Your prayers, encouragement, and belief carried this mission forward, and I return home with a deep sense of gratitude and humility. The significance of the UN resolution. At the United Nations, Ghana stood not only for itself, but for Africa and the global African diaspora. The adoption of the resolution declaring the transatlantic slave trade as the gravest crime against humanity is historic. It affirms what we have always known, that this injustice must be acknowledged, it must be remembered, and it must be addressed. Acknowledgement of the slave trade has been fragmented. This is the first time clarity and record has been brought to the issue on the highest global platform, the United Nations. This is not about the past alone. It is about justice, dignity, and truth. It is about ensuring that the legacy of slavery is neither forgotten nor trivialized. And it is about laying a foundation for meaningful global conversations on reparative justice. Ghana has once again demonstrated moral leadership on the global stage. Working with the African Union, the CARICOM, and like-minded nations, we have helped to shift the global conversation. This is consistent with our history from our independence to today of standing for justice and human dignity.
This wasn't just a victory speech. In fact, it was a diplomatic message because the issue Ghana raised was not simple. It touched on history, responsibility, and global politics, and many countries supported.
People often ask, so what comes next? This resolution is just the beginning. It's not an end. We will work with our partners to translate this moral victory into concrete outcomes. CARICOM already has a 10-point plan for reparative justice. We will work to build a coalition around their plan. Ghana will continue to work with our allies towards dialogue, education, and remembrance with reparative action. Let this moment remind us of what we can achieve when we act with purpose and unity. This is a proud moment for Ghana. It's a proud moment for Africa. It's a proud moment for people of African descent wherever they are in the world. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you once again for this warm welcome. May God bless you all, and may God bless our homeland, Ghana. I thank you.
Thank you very much, His Excellency, African champion, President John Dramani Mahama. Wave your flag. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Hip, 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 hip. For His Excellency and the Vice President, Western greetings.
And while many countries supported, some stayed cautious, others were also absent, which made Ghana's voice stand out even more. But the president revealed that it didn't come on a silver platter. He revealed that the Foreign Affairs Minister, Kudjuto Ablakwa, had to travel to all of these countries to convince them on why they needed to vote to support Ghana. But outside the formal ceremony, the energy was different. People cheered, flags waved, and phones recorded every moment. So from the UN to the runway in Ghana, this was not just a return. In fact, this was a moment of connection between leadership and the people. And now the question is, what comes next for Ghana on the global stage? And let me ask you your objective question. What do you make of this victory for Ghana? Are you proud of Ghana's President John Dramani Mahama, or you think it's just one of those things? Leave your comment in the comment section. It's a wrap for today.